And he said, "Would you like a surgery?" I said, "Sure." So he gets up, and this guy's in a trance, complete trance, comes up to me, sticks his thumb inside my mouth. Out of nowhere, I'm out of my body, standing behind him, looking at myself, completely not understanding what's going on. Meanwhile, he takes the surgical scissors with a round tip on top, puts it into my nose with the bottom of his palm, hits it. As he hits it, I'm still watching myself, and I can feel the scissors hit to the top of my head from the inside. And I'm trying to open my eyes as hard as I can because I'm witnessing this, and it's all happening so fast and I'm not understanding. And I'm trying to kind of go into my body. I can't because I'm standing behind him.
With me today is Igor Galibov. Thanks for being here today, Igor. It's good to have you on the show.
Thanks, Rod. It's nice to be here.
All right. Well, how about let's go back to 2004 when it sounds like things changed for you quite a bit. Then you had your first out of body experience. So can you take us back to then? What happened then?
Yeah, 2004. I actually ended up, 2004, I was 24 years old. There was nothing about spirituality or anything about meditation or angels or any of this type of stuff. It was a just a regular life, and I was 24 years old. I ended up going to Brazil with my mother because she was in need of a healing, I guess. So I just went with her, and when I arrived there, it was something completely different. It was nothing that I have seen or experienced in my life. I came up to a healer who was doing healing there, and I wasn't even thinking why. I just decided to go there. And once I arrived there, it was a lot of people going there and getting basically dressed in white. And out of curiosity, I just decided to come up. As I came up, he's like, "Would you like to have a surgery?" I had no idea what he was talking about. I said, "Sure," because when I looked at the people, he did two types of surgery. One is visible, the other one is invisible. A visible surgery is where you get like a tool he utilizes to cut you and to remove tumor or any illnesses or any problems that people have. And the invisible one is where you sit down for 10 minutes, they do a prayer, and you just leave. And he said, "Would you like a surgery?" I said, "Sure." So he gets up, and this guy's in a trance, complete trance, comes up to me, sticks his thumb inside my mouth. Out of nowhere, I'm out of my body, standing behind him, looking at myself, completely not understanding what's going on. Meanwhile, he takes the surgical scissors with a round tip on top, puts it into my nose with the bottom of his palm, hits it. As he hits it, I'm still watching myself, and I can feel the scissors hit to the top of my head from the inside. And I'm trying to open my eyes as hard as I can because I'm witnessing this, and it's all happening so fast and I'm not understanding. And I'm trying to kind of go into my body. I can't because I'm standing behind him, and I look to the side, I see his body and I see myself. So by the time he twists the scissors one way, twists another way, pulls it out, he says, "Spit." I just spit a little bit of blood, and I'm back in my body. That was my first out of body experience that I had, where from that moment on, uh, I was leaving my body all the time, which I was not even aware. And so it took me many years to really understand what was happening and what was taking place. But through trial and error, I started to play with these things, and that became my interest. That became my life. Everything in the physical reality was, I could not connect or relate to it because it did not feel real. So for about 4 to 5 years, I spent completely in my meditative state, coming out of my body. I was excited to go to bed because that was like coming out of my body. I was going to visit different dimensions, different beings, different solar systems, different parts in the planet. And I started to play an experiment with these things. I started to walk around the streets in the middle of the night, like coming out of my body. Started to have spirits chase me, and it was very interesting stuff. But I was not grounded at all. I was completely disconnected from physical reality, where it brought me to a place where I did not like physical reality. And I had to go backwards to kind of say, okay, how do I go back and enjoy life, because this is what I'm here for. And that was one of the main things for me, was like, how do I close the gap between the fifth dimension and the 3D reality? Because up there it is so much fun, it's so exciting, and it's so peaceful. But here in this dimension, a lot of times we tend not to like it because we experience so much bliss out there. So that was my journey, is like, okay, how do I close that gap? Because I myself went completely into the other dimension where physical reality did not matter at all. So that's how it all began for me in 2004. And back then, there was nothing online where you can go to Google and look it up and say, okay, what do I have here? It was MSN Messenger back then. We had flip phones. So uh, Google was just coming on, so YouTube also. And there was nothing much to look for. Like, where do I get this information? So everything for me was trial and error. I constantly just like tried, failed again. I felt completely disoriented, brought myself to balance again. So I constantly kept coming out of the body. And that's when I started to connect to other dimensions, and I started to work with different beings. And different beings, they would come from different solar systems, or different ascended masters, which I was not really aware of. As I went along, I was like, who am I seeing? What am I feeling? What is this name? And then I would start looking up, or I would go to a bookstore. We have a bookstore here in Philly, Garden of Letters, a spiritual bookstore in South Philly. And so I started to kind of go to that place to find answers, and I would just grab books, and I would not have to read them, because those books, I would just instantaneously connect to the consciousness of the author. And I was able to experience the wisdom that they had within their books. So for next 4 or 5 years, that was it. My parents thought I was crazy. My friends kind of all disconnected, had no interest in anything physical at all. And that's how my journey began.
Things have taken a pretty wild turn already, which I like. So, can I just go back to so what actually led you to that teacher? Why did you go to Brazil in the first place? I mean, it was for your mother's healing, but why did you choose that place, or was it that person in particular, or just that place? How did that come about?
They heard of this healer, in Brazil. So I was not aware of this. My dad couldn't go, so he's like, "You go with your mom." So I went with my mom and my uncle, as basically just their support. But I never thought that I was gonna have this experience or have anything like that. I was like, "Okay, I'm going to Brazil. I'm gonna leave them there. They're healer. Um, let them do all this mumbo jumbo stuff, and I'm out." I'm 24 years old. I'm thinking how to go out, have fun, and party. So, the life of a regular 24-year-old.
Yeah. So I've had one out of body experience myself, so I get the. And a lot of guests have said this. Once you've actually had that experience, it's like, wow, this is a really amazing place. Like, I just want to be a tourist here all the time. Um, so, how did you? When did you realize? Okay, I'm just spending way too much time here. I'm obsessing over this. How did you get to that point? What was it? What was that like?
So there was basically to a point where I was already 4 or 5 years into this, and I wasn't able to relate to people. I found this reality really horrible, complex, abusive, distorted. I did not want to do anything with humans. I couldn't connect to people because I became extra sensitive, to the point where if I would stand next to a person or be in an environment of people, I start to feel things. I was feeling their pains, their traumas, their attachments, all kinds of things. That became very complex. I wasn't able just to resonate to people at all. But I enjoyed being in the other dimension. And then one time I remember Saint Germain came through. And That what really shifted me was when I read the autobiography of Saint Germain, the Ascended Master. In his autobiography, it was like this guy was spiritual. He owned hospitals, schools. He was wealthy, and all the things. And it came to me. I was like, "Wow, wait a minute. If I came to this reality, that means my body, my soul needs me to be here and experience my life to the fullest potential. If I'm not experiencing to the full potential, then I'm not full potential of God." So that's when I started to say, okay, how do I change this? What do I need to do within myself? What's really happening? And I started to ask these questions to my own self to see how I need to ground myself. So I noticed was that my upper centers, the chakra systems, the glands at an upper level were operating at a high frequency, but my lower centers were not at all. It was like basically I had a pyramid built upwards, but no pyramid downwards. So I couldn't really connect to this physical reality because it was everything was judgment. And if we can see also, once we start becoming awakened, it's like, well, this is of God, this is not of God, this is good, this is bad, this is spiritual, this is not spiritual. But the whole purpose of us is to find spirituality in everything. So then I started to notice that any thoughts that were separated or beliefs, they were actually creating the pain for me because the judgment in my mind was creating the pain. And I started to work on that. So I was like, okay, started to work on my judgment. I started to work on my emotions. But during that same time period, I was working with the blue beings in the astral plane, which started to teach me about the chakra systems in the energy fields. So during that time period, they taught me about the emotional, mental body, astral body, the causal body, the galactic body, the universal body. And what is that really? These are energy fields around us. So we are like a human being. We have this one physical body, but then we have the aura, and the auric field has layers in it. So they started to show me these different layers and different chakra systems within the layers and how they operate and the energy operates between them. So that's when my interest began going deeper. So I was basically in a spiritual astral school every single day. That was my thing. I was like, okay, I couldn't wait to go back into meditation, go back into a deeper state of consciousness in order to connect and learn this. That's how I started to connect to different ascended masters, different Melchizedek consciousness, all the different names that we have for the Metatron, and it's actually just different forms of consciousnesses within our own self. As I started to explore that, I started to understand, okay, wait a minute. There is a big shift that's taking place in my field. I'm able to change my karmic patterns, heal myself, transform things, attract things, and it's all based on these energy bodies. It does not have to do as much as my physical mind or me doing stuff here. It is setting up the energy field in order to do stuff on the physical reality. And that's when I was like, okay, so I got to pave the wave energetically and then take action. Because for the first 4 or 5 years, I was sitting in meditation. It's like, okay, God, give me a piece of gold. Gold drop on my lap, going into this deep meditative state completely in that realm. And he was like, do you guys have money up there? Like, no. Then why are you guys always telling me what to do and where to go? And I got like really angry. I got really upset because they're like, we don't even understand the concept of money. It does not exist in our dimension. This is a responsibility of the 3D reality where you have to take responsibility of this. I was like, okay, wait a minute. So you guys up there tell us what to do here. We listen, but you don't understand our reality? Like, no. Your reality is responsibility is to send energy up and to receive. Their responsibility is to send energy down. So we have to be responsible for this dimension and take action, the proper action, and respect this dimension that we came here for, and the higher dimension to merge it and still operate there while we are here. And that for me, like, okay, I gotta close the gap. I have to start creating things in this physical reality because I piled about over $150,000 of credit card debt while I was sitting and meditating for 4 years because I was like flipping credit cards. It's like, okay, I understood the system. I'm going to meditate. God is going to give it to me. No, no, no. God's going to give you what you go and work for. So that was my whole thing. And I was like, okay, I got to start doing physical work as well as my spiritual work. And when I started to do spiritual work back then, I just didn't feel right charging people money at all. Like it did not resonate with me. I was like, well, God has everything for free. I was like, I must do everything for free too. And I had to change that belief within myself. It's like, okay, it has to be an equal exchange. So it has to be balanced to the reality that we're in. And those are still belief systems that we have to overcome. So there was a lot of work that I was doing throughout these years within internally in order to get to where I'm at. So it is a journey of merging several dimensions into oneness.
Okay, so I want to get back to those blue beings in a sec, but I just want to make, there's an observation I've had about, because I often see in comments how people go, well, how come this person charges for this service? If they're so spiritual, why don't they just do it for free?
Yeah.
And I, there was a little while ago, there was my wife wanted me to pick up a table from a lady who had a table that she was letting go on Facebook Marketplace. And she said something very interesting about it when I got there, which was that she really just wanted to sell, to just let it go for free. But she always found that whenever it was for free, people would not show up. They would like say they were coming at a certain time and turn up much later. And so she just found that when people don't have anything invested in it, they don't value it. And I think that's true for everything. It's like there's got to be this exchange of value. And if there is no exchange of value, then we just don't value it at all. And I think for that reason alone is the reason why that a lot of spiritual teachers should charge. And the more value they provide, I think they should charge actually more than what they should. It's nothing to do with, okay, they're a spiritual person. It's more about, well, what's the fair value exchange of value that's going on here?
You are correct, Rod.
Mm.
I started to explore as like, what is money? What is money? Money, because there's always an exchange of something. Money is actually emotion. So when we exchange, people become emotionally involved. And when they're emotionally involved, they will do the things that they need to. If they're not emotionally involved, they're like, they have no connection. When we're in a relationship, we're emotionally involved. When we are doing work, we're emotionally involved. So money is actually what we did. We took that energy of emotion and we translated it into money.
All right. So can you just introduce us to the blue beings? Because they popped into the story, but how did you first encounter, who are they? Tell us about those.
So the blue beings, there were several different ones, but the primarily ones were the Palladian consciousness. It was a council. I started to work with different councils. When that name came up, I was a council, and I started to just venture out into these places. If you set the intention, uh, you'll be able to go to those different dimensions. And usually, they're energetic councils that will be representing that frequency vibration. So I started to work with them, and then I started to work with the Elohimic consciousness. They are the ones who started to teach me about the purity of the perfect atom, of the perfect atom species of humans. And the Palladians started to show me the energy bodies and how they operate, and how we, as humans, are going back to activate our astral body so we can fully understand of what's taking place in this dimension, because we are not fully activated as humans. We're only operating at a 10% capacity of our true selves. So it's like, what does that mean, 10% capacity? That means that our energy field expands 50 feet in each direction. So they started to show me how vast our energy fields are, and they would actually clear my energy field so I can become aware of it. So I started to become aware of these spaces so fast, so rapidly, that it was very complex to be outside in the real world. And they started to show me how each energy body has a chakra system, how it relates to the physical body, and how the physical body is the processor of the higher dimensions. So as I started to venture out into these, I started to see, whoa, I have these like programs in them, belief systems in them, emotions in them. uh, pre-programmed beliefs before I even came into here that would say like, okay, at the age of 30, you're going to experience um, some sort of a heightened emotion in order for you to be taken to a certain trajectory in life. I was like, okay, wow, this is like really interesting. As I started to learn more and deeper into it, I was like, can we change them? Yeah, they can be changed. Okay, but to a certain degree, but where the soul still is kind of saying the main theme of your experience is this. So these blue beings come in, they are helping me. Why are they helping me? Like, what's the purpose? Then you like, okay, this blue being is actually helping you is because he's sharing the oversoul with you. Whoa, wait a minute. So he is me, he is you, but in a different dimension at a higher frequency. And he has reached that vibration. So now he's going down to everywhere where he exists and assists them. I was like, okay, but how about other blue beings? Can they come? Yeah, they can come. But the main one would be the ones that are you're sharing the oversoul with. Okay, what is the oversoul? Started to venture out into that. It was like the oversoul is something that already gave birth to a self-realized experience. So that is like basically Yashua or Buddha became self-realized and now able to reincarnate itself. And it's such a complex but not a linear explanation. Even this, me explaining this, is for the physical mind to understand because it is a timeless system that operates in multidimensionalism. So I started to go deeper into it, and I really started to enjoy. My heart was like, my mind was really operating in that frequency where I really started to kind of just eat that information day in, day out. I started to observe it into the physical reality as well. And then in 2012, uh, I met a few people and they're like, "You have to teach this stuff." Isaac, I have no idea how to teach this stuff. I'm just like, I see it as I go. Like, I look at people, I see what's going on, I share it with you. You ask me a question, I have an answer, but I don't know how to teach. Like, no, 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 no. We're gonna set it up for you. You're gonna teach. I said, okay, fine, let's do it. So the first one I did, the first teachings was I had no idea what I was going to be doing. I just came out on a stage, like in front of people, 50 people, and just channeled information. And it was like, we want to learn. I was like, really? And that's when I started to teach. 2014, I started to teach this information of how to organize our energy body. Before that, I was doing healings. Then I stopped doing healings because I noticed that whatever people don't do themselves, the karma always comes back. So I said, okay, I cannot keep doing this because I'm actually picking up pain and I need to help people get back into that space where they can do this themselves. Because the whole thing is that, especially we get into the spiritual path, we go up in vibration, then we fall. How do you get back up? How do you continue that journey where you stay in this balanced state of harmony and not swing from extreme happiness to extreme sadness? So for me, it was like, okay, how do I find a balance? And that was one of the things is like, I have to teach. I cannot do this for the people. I even actually started to play with my kids and started to teach them this stuff from childhood into meditation and everything because this was very important. I felt like this is part of who we are, but we're not connected to that part. We're not taught this. So the blue beings started to come to me, and then as well, they started actually to come through where we would be taken up into a spaceship, and they would actually work on the family. And I would actually see other people that I would work with. They would actually help them out to kind of raise their vibration, their consciousness. So, but not just them. There are so many different species out there of beings that are waiting for this planet to evolve, for the people to evolve. And I think that's one of the things where we are headed as people. Like, I mean, look at what's happened in the past 5 to 10 years. We have a sharp awakening in that direction.
So you were saying they're blue beings. Some of them are actually your oversoul, like a division of that. So it's really you talking to you. So you're actually I don't know if reincarnation is the right word, but there's different versions of yourself that aren't just human. They're from other
Correct.
places as well.
Let's say this is the oversoul. This is me in this life, past life, future life, extraterrestrial self, different extraterrestrial self, but yet we're still sharing the oversoul. And what does that mean? That means that the oversoul doesn't look at anything as good or bad. It just looks at it as experience. It just wants to have different experiences. It's like a sphere with tentacles expressing itself in different dimensions of the universe.
Hmm. So I understand you learned something new about the chakra system that isn't traditionally taught. This from the blue beans. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So they started to show me the chakra systems in the emotional body, the mental body, the astral body, and how they all operate and connect to the physical body and the meridians of the physical body. And once we start to operate at higher dimension, the seven chakra systems that we know will become obsolete. They are basically the lowest vibration because these chakra systems on the astral body become merged and they actually divide into three major chakra systems in the astral body. So when we do, like, let's say, astral projection or remote viewing, there's so many names for it, but it's all basically utilizing the astral body. So people are actually coming out of their body. They're utilizing the astral space, which it seems that we are really leaving, but we're not going anywhere. We are in our sphere of our auric field, okay, in our electromagnetic field or ether. And that ether, everything is coming to that space. We are not going anywhere. So when you say, I'm going to, let's say, the moon, you're not going to the moon. You're actually bringing the energy of the moon into your field because nothing exists but you. So when we think we're going somewhere or we're traveling somewhere, we're bringing all those things into our field. So once we start to understand that, it's like, whoa, I'm actually not leaving my body. I'm floating in my field. I'm becoming aware of my own consciousness and bringing everything to that space. And it seems that you're going somewhere.
Okay, um, what are some of the things that you've discovered? Did you make some decisions before you say came to planet Earth? Have you learned some things that you decided that you were going to do or learn since your experiences began?
So since my experience began, I started to question things like, why am I going through this? Because, throughout the whole time period, there were days that I cried. There were days that I begged for a teacher. There were days that I wanted like to stop all this. I started to question like, okay, what's really happening? Why is this happening to me? I want to stop this. Like, I want to go back to being normal like everybody else. And I couldn't. I just couldn't. It was so much desire and so much interest to go deeper into that. I started to go deeper and I started to see, okay, I came here to teach people how to activate their light body. That was my main thing, is to help people to really activate their energy fields, to step into that space, to clear out the karmic patterns, reprogram those processes that they're going through of pain or suffering and all these emotions, and how to find a balance in that. Because we are going to have emotions going up and down. But how can you come into a state of neutrality and become an observer? Really, what's really taking place? Because we as a collective, just understanding how to be a positive thinker, that's only the beginning. But then that we get into the multidimensionalism, we're operating in our past and our future instantaneously through these energy bodies. Because the energy body is what brings in the energy from the soul in through this body. And this body is just the processor. So nothing really takes place from here. It's just the mind is the controller and the receiver of information. So wherever the mind goes, that's where the energy will flow. But the heart is what sends it all. So if the heart sends the energy, this directs the energy. And that where the work comes in. But most of our thoughts are not in our mind, they're in our mental body. And the mental body has programs from the time of your mother and father of conception. And soon as that happens, we right away start to picking up programs from our ancestors on this dimension. But then we also have beliefs that are coming from our causal body, which are from other dimensional lives. So how do we find a balance between that? And that's where I kind of created the courses for this, is to find a balance so we can find a neutrality and start clearing things out, finding a proper thought process, because the logical mind in this 3D reality is taught to think a certain way. But when we go into a higher dimension of how energy thinks, the logic here does not align to the energy above, because energy has its own logic and it's a multidimensional logic. So that was the main thing for me. It was like, okay, now that I find this within myself, I balance this out. Now I need to share this. So I started to share this, and still till this day, I go through stuff. It will never end. We're not going to become this angel, you know, that people think they're going to enlightenment. No, it is becoming the best human version of yourself, but with the awareness of the astral plane. Because if you take a look at Egypt, or if we take a look at all these ancient sites, we cannot understand them because they were built from beings that operated in the astral plane. They operated from a higher dimension. So all the structures and everything that they built was being built from the space of the astral mind, not the physical logical mind. It was just a representation on this reality to assist to merge those dimensions. And when we start to look at that, we see like the story of Osiris and Isis and their son Horus, you know, it's the same story as Jesus, Yahshua. And it's all about reincarnation. It's all about resurrection. It's about being non attached. And that takes place in the astral body, because that's the body, the gross body, they call it, the body where you have attachment to things, to people, to events, to different places. So you kind of say, okay, what is attachment? If I detach from everything, then I might as well leave. But it's not just leaving everything, it's about having it and not being afraid of losing it or being afraid of not having it. Because the fear is what really creates the attachment. So the energy bodies can have things, but without attachment, can experience stuff without fear, because they're timeless. They come and go instantaneously. Does that make sense? Or that's like,
Yeah, we're getting there. So, what do you say to people? They go, okay, well, Igor, this is all very well and good. It's being more spiritual, but I've got a mortgage to pay. I've got
yeah.
young kids. I've just got no time for myself. I'm not getting enough sleep. What do you say to people that feel like they're just sort of on a hamster wheel and doesn't seem to be any way to get off it?
You know, we have 24 hours in a day. We're taught that we need to have 8 hours of sleep. If you actually meditate for an hour in the morning and you wake up before your kids do, that's what I did. I have 3 kids. I wake up before they did. I knew they wake up at 6. I would wake up at 5. I knew they wake up at 7. Then I would wake up at 6. And so I made sure that I meditated 3 hours to 4 hours a day, even when I had kids. Why? Because I found the time that if the more I meditate, the less I would need to sleep. The only reason we need to sleep is because we need to energize our body. But if you meditate, that is energizing your body. You're consciously energizing your body. So therefore, you will not need as much time. Your mind will become sharper. Your body will become more energized. And everything that you believe that you need as this society or this reality has created, you won't, because things will start literally coming to you. The problem is that we look at things that the social media is full of information, and we look at, oh, I want this, oh, I want that, and we're constantly spending our energy. Every time we're looking at different shows, different uh, platforms, everything, we're actually feeding our consciousness. It's important, like your platform, this is the platforms that people should be watching, because they're feeding their consciousness to grow their souls, right? That is energizing. That is expansive. But the other things that people are watching, the things that are going on in the world, they are just taking away the energy and they become tired, depleted, because the emotional body constantly is being used for different emotions that are not part of source. If your emotions are always thinking of God, of source, of divine things, of love, of joy, of peace, you'll always be charged because that is the energy that you're receiving and that's the energy you're giving out. But if you're looking at fear, disappointment, and all these negative emotions, then of course you're going to be depleted. You're not going to have enough time. You're not going to have enough energy. But if you want to be there for your family and you're not fully there for yourself, then you are not fully for your family. You have to take care of yourself first so you can be present, fully present with your family.
Okay, I've heard you mention the halls of Amenti. In fact, you're the only other guest I've heard mention the halls of Amenti and the Akashic records. Can you tell us what you've learned about those?
Yeah, the holes of Amentes. So the holes of Amentes are actually are the holes within your astral space. They are a representation of pyramids, right? We see pyramids throughout the world. Pyramids are energetic structures within the astral body. They hold the highest vibration, and pyramids are utilized in different civilizations throughout the universe by different beings in different colors and different shapes in order to teleport or move consciousnesses. So you can build energetic structures within your energy fields when you become aware of them. These energy structures also can connect you to the holes of Amentes. The holes of Amentes, this is basically a library of wisdom of the universal astral body. It is the wisdom that is given to us. It is not a wisdom that can be attained by the physical mind. It is the wisdom that is utilized according to the time and space when it's needed. So it is like golden to me at least. They look like golden geometrical shapes and symbols, or even letters sometimes, that are stored in our energy field. And whenever you need them, they will come up and they will express themselves. That wisdom will be shared through you. So the holes of Amentes, these are trainings that take place once people start to operate in their astral plane, meaning that you will become aware of your energy bodies instantaneously and have clarity of what you're feeling, where you're walking through, and what you're really doing. Because it's important to be aware into that space of into that space of consciousness. So the holes will have records of wisdom that is already there for us. It is nothing that we need to learn. It is something that we need to remember. But how do we remember it if we're not fully remembering our full potential? So once we start to expand our awareness into our energy bodies, this information will start coming up to people. And they will start receiving it through dream states, through astral traveling, and different forms of meditation as well. That is the holes of amenities.
And are they the same thing as the Akashic records, or is that something
So
different?
yeah, because see, we give so many different labels to kind of the same things. Is just from the energetic perspective, the Akash represents the ether. Ether, it is not measurable. It is not electric. It's not magnetic. It's beyond that because electric and magnetic we're still measuring. Is still part of this 3D dimension. The etheric body, it is without a measure. It is space itself. Within that space, we have the records, the Akashic records, or the holes of Amentes, which is also the part of the Akashic space. So it's pretty much the same, just different terms, depending of who shared it or how they learned it.
So you mentioned before that you were taken onto a ship. So can you go back and just tell us that story? How did that begin? Did that occur while you were asleep or were you awake? And where did you go to? What was your understanding of what happened there?
Yeah, there were many events during that time period. Being on the ships, I was basically on the ships. You can say in these higher consciousnesses, uh, every night. There were times where I actually woke up physically in those ships. They are different types of ships. One of the ships I can share easily was they were non-emotional. They were very kind of cold plated experiences. Then there were other ships where they were very warm and had emotion in them. They were very human like. I started to experience these different um, ships. It was right away. It was right after this awakening, and I would start to see them physically as well. They would appear and they would show themselves. There was an incident. I remember I was in California in Coronado. There's a military base in Coronado. I don't know if you know California. Uh, and I was there with a partner during that time, walking on the beach, and all of a sudden I hear a scream, "Help us, help us." I did not understand what was that going on. Somebody was screaming. And I'm like, hold on a second, telling to my partner. And I turn around and I just tune in to the military base. And I just projected myself right into that military base. As I started to walk through that space, I started to see there were cages, many cages with different alien beings in each one. These cages were not regular cages, they were electrical cages. That same week, there were so many helicopters coming in and out nonstop, 3 to 4 helicopters at all times, coming in and out. I did not really understand what was going on, but these beings were calling me. So I go down there energetically, I project myself while I'm standing at the beach, and they're like, call the mothership. I'm like, what do you mean? Why can't you guys call the ship? They're like, we can't because they showed me that there was a net, an energetic net above them where they couldn't telepathically communicate towards that direction. So through me, I connected to the main ship and talked to them. These beings were actually small beings, but they were do not touch beings, basically. They were considered, they're not allowed to be caught or touched by any human military or any species because they are vibrating at a high frequency and they were benevolent beings. I was like, okay. So I call a friend, maybe I don't know if you know Alan Steinfeld, and I call him up. I said, "Hey, Alan, I'm in California right now. What's going on?" He's like, "I'm not sure why." I was like, "There was these beings that came through, blah blah, and there was a lot of helicopter activity, and they asked me to connect to this ship." He's like, there was a crash in Brazil uh, last week, and they are saying that these beings are being transported to United States." I was like, okay, this is like very interesting because now it's all makes sense, right? That same 2 nights later, we're laying on the rooftop just watching the stars, and all of a sudden, there's this huge pyramidal ship just flowing, maybe about 150 feet above us, very, very slowly. And when it passes above us, it's just this energy comes right into my heart of such gratitude. And I knew and I felt telepathically communicated that they were thinking, they were being released. There are species that are not so good, just like people. And there are species that are really good. And it all depends who you connect with and how do you connect with them. If you channel your mind towards a positive channel, your channel will connect to those beings that will assist you because they want to connect with you. They want to raise the vibration of the planet. They want us to reunite. It's like connecting with uh, other countries, So for them, it's more on that level. If we take a look into our DNA is actually compiled from different species. So therefore, sooner or later, we are going to connect with them. Sooner or later, they will come. But before that, we as humans must raise in vibration and connect to the higher dimensions within our own selves before we connect to other beings. Because if we cannot connect to us, how will they connect to us?
So, what have you learned about, or what are the extraterrestrial races want us to most learn about ourselves? You think what is it? You mentioned they're wanting to sort of help us raise our vibration. Is that it?
Awareness of consciousness. Because once we have a awareness of our own consciousness, we will understand the universe itself. It's not something we have to learn. It is something that is within us, just needs to be activated and remembered. Because our school systems, our environment is teaching us stuff every day. but it's not teaching us anything about the universe. It's teaching us how to pay bills, how to pay taxes, and we're trapped. We're trapped in a cycle that is constantly moving us in this direction, but it's not moving us up in a cycle. So this is the planet is going there either way. We like it or not, people are awakening. And there is nothing that the old regime can do, but is going to have to surrender sooner or later. It's just 50 years for us seems like a lot, but on the universal clock, it's not a lot. So the change takes place stretched out, it seems to us, on a time scale. But in reality, it's actually doing pretty well. You can see what's happening. I mean, in the past, like I mentioned, 5 years, you can see what's taking place. People are wondering, how can I do this? How can I learn meditation? I mean, in 2004, I told somebody I meditate. They're like, "Are you okay? You got mental issues? Why are you meditating?" Now they want to learn.
So how much time do you spend meditating each day
I
nowadays?
spend much less now, but at least an hour to 2 hours I spend a day. But what is really meditation when you are meditating throughout the day? It was first 15 years was really strong, lots of meditation. And then it becomes so deeply embedded inside of you that your cells remember that state of consciousness, and you can really easily shift back into that state while you are doing things. So it's basically, if kids would do this till age of 15, they won't have to meditate for the rest of their life because they will already understand the concept of meditative consciousness within their everyday reality.
So can you tell us about your what is it that you're mainly teaching people these days? I'm sure what you do has evolved over time, but what do you mostly teach people now?
I mostly teach people how to activate their energy bodies and to clear that, because through that space we connect to other dimensions, through that space we connect to other people, through that space we manifest, through that space we create our reality. If we really understand that space, then you will attract and create the vibration that is most highly suitable for your soul's experience, and you will alleviate the desires of the ego mind, and really manifestation will become instantaneous because it's not manifestation. You're jumping the timeline that already is there.
And so you may as well, yeah, tell us about how people can get access to that. Like, is that done through courses or books or?
Sure, yeah, I have courses online, a community as well. There's a online community, and I have free meditations every Tuesday. I've been doing free meditations since for the past actually 10 years. So every Tuesday there's free meditations. It's stuff information's on my website, igorgalibov.com, and they can also look it up in alignmentoflight.com. There's courses, there's pilgrimages, there's other people teaching courses as well. So it's basically a whole community of different spiritual tools, techniques that will assist each individual in their journey.
Okay. You mentioned pilgrimages just then. What is that exactly? I've not heard that term
So
before.
we go to sacred sites,
Right.
like Egypt, Turkey, Jordan, Petra, and like sites like this where we go through sacred sites to have activations, because these sacred sites were built on grid levels of the earth. And the grid levels of the earth is where the highest amounts of energy can enter. They're like chakra systems of the earth. And when you go to these places, you definitely have a shift in consciousness because you're standing in a portal where your whole being starts to align to that higher vibration. So recalibration takes place in the energy fields.
Wow. Okay. So is there anything that you'd like to leave people with, Igor, before we
Ah,
wrap it up today?
one thing I think is very important out of all of spiritual tools is being aware of the breath, because the breath is a tuner of frequency. If we can regulate our breath, we can regulate our whole reality.
Just tell us a little bit more about that. You intrigue me there. So what, we should be more conscious of our
Yeah.
breath or
Our breath is very important. When we become emotional, our breath shifts. So we shift our vibration. When we become anxiety, our breath shifts as well. If people start to pay attention to it, the breath will shift not only the depth of it, but where you are breathing. If we learn how to breathe deep into certain parts of our body, we're actually activating this body is not our body, it's a machine. If we really understand it and not stop saying it's my body, my, and look at it as a machine of how it needs to operate, and we really align it with the clock of the universe, all the centers will right away open up, and the receiving part of our mind will also subside right away to open up to higher dimensions. Through the regulation of breath, the slower our breath, the deeper we connect. So if people breathe, let's say 40 times, uh, 40 breaths they do in a minute or less, or 20 breaths, see if you can slow it down. If we can slow down the breathing in and out, you will really transform the whole system. It depends where you breathe, because a lot of times people only breathe to their chest. We should be breathing deep into the below the navel, because there is a vital part where the soul's energy anchor in. Because the soul's energy needs to anchor in what we call the sexual energy. It is actually anchors in into those spaces. That's why it's called sacred sexuality. And if we really understand it, it is not about just pleasure. It is about the orgasmic connection to the soul. So there's a
Right.
whole process and system in that as well. Yeah.
And I assume that that is something that you also teach people as well?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I just actually put that course together. It's called yeah. It's coming out very soon. I'll have that out. It's going to be the orgasmic experience of the soul.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Igor, it's been great to meet you. Thanks very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time today.
It's great to be here. Thank you, brother.